Gentlemen, welcome back to a long-awaited, long-overdue Gran Turismo 4 online video in 2024. It's been a very long time since I played some Gran Turismo 4, let alone stream some GT4 online. But the other day, the squad decided to get back all together for some good old-fashioned racing action. And it was actually pretty fun, and these races were good enough to make a video on, so here we are. Now, in case you're confused, because this is still actually kind of very unknown about Gran Turismo 4, but back in 2006, there was a online beta test build of Gran Turismo 4 that was sent out to a few thousand players in Japan and the US. And the purpose of this demo build was to test the online gameplay functionality in preparation for Gran Turismo 5. I'm not sure if Gran Turismo 4 was originally supposed to have the online mode. I haven't dug that far deep into it, but it is nice that there was a version of this game that was out specifically for online racing, and a few years ago, new servers were created for it. So now if you have a copy of the online beta test build, you can get online and race against other players. I pretty much got on board with this a couple months after the servers first went back up in May of 2021. And I have done a few dozen videos and streams over it. We also used to hold events of this on a monthly basis. But the fact of the matter is, life hit, and we haven't really been able to host any online racing for the past several months. But hopefully this video will actually get some traction and get the word out there that Gran Turismo 4 Online is a thing. It's pretty fun. Although, not everyone would be able to get it set up for various reasons. And also, unfortunately, I cannot teach you how to set it up nor how to get the online beta test build. That's just something that you and your search engine are going to have to figure out on your own. There are reasons why I cannot explain it. That's pretty much all I can say. And like I said, hopefully this brings some people back, and hopefully this introduces new people to it, so we can have some solid racing on this game once again. Because every now and then, Gran Turismo 4 Online topples GT7 daily races, and it's not even close. But other times, Gran Turismo 4 Online can be the most messy thing you've ever seen in your life. I hope I don't get punted off track. Oh my god. Whoa! So for race 1, we are going to be going to Infineon Raceway sports car course in one of my favorite cars of the game, the Amuse S2000 R1. Now, this is one of my favorite tracks of all time, and this is one of my favorite cars in Gran Turismo 4, so this is a very fun combo for me specifically. But the only problem is, not only am I rusty, but pretty much everybody in this race is also rusty. None of us have played Gran Turismo 4 in quite a few minutes. And I'm also using my new wheel, which I still haven't really gotten used to on this game. So for those of you who don't know, a few months ago I got the Fanatec GT DD Pro, and because it's not a mechanically driven wheel, it's actually quite silent whenever the force feedback kicks in on this game. So whenever I start making videos of this game again with live commentary and stuff, then you won't hear constant clattering in the background as I drive down the Mulsanne Straight. But the only problem is that my force feedback cuts out randomly while I'm driving, and I still haven't figured out what's causing that. So that's probably going to make me drive sloppy every now and then whenever it just cuts out in the middle of a corner and then I oversteer into the wall or something. But yeah, unfortunate tech issues with new hardware. I don't know if I'll be able to solve it, but hopefully I do someday. So back into the race we go. These Amuse R1s, they really love to rotate off throttle, and with this game's physics, you never really have to worry about oversteering in almost any car at all, except for like a Porsche, or excuse me, not a Porsche. Porsches don't exist in this game, they're all roofs. Except for the roof Yellowbird, which is actually quite oversteery and does occasionally want to kill you every now and then. But essentially in this game's physics, all you gotta do is go fully on the brakes into the corner, stay off the throttle until you get the car pointed in the right direction, and then just hammer the throttle on the exit. This game's physics, so the car doesn't really like to slide, or no car really likes to slide at all. Drifting is almost impossible, and wheel spin, so most of the cars actually have pretty good traction on the power, but if you do wheel spin, then all you're really going to do is lose a bit of time. Spinning the car out is almost impossible to do in almost any car in this game, unless you go into the grass or something, of course, but it's actually very forgiving, and a lot of people say that cars in this game are understeer biased, which I would agree with, but I would also probably suggest that a lot of those people are using assists, which basically makes every single car you use with it understeer like crazy. So always drive with the assists off in this game is my number one piece of advice. So with all that being said, this car is super easy to drive. A lot of cars in this game are easy to drive. And for me personally, that's allowing me to get warmed up fairly quickly. So you can see I get around Tuz and Biddy halfway through the second lap, and currently 2.5 seconds behind Rick, which back when we all played this game fairly consistently, I would say I was maybe like neck and neck with Rick. However, I would make mistakes more often than him, so a lot of races I would either just go off track, as you see right now, or spin out and hit the wall, or some other thing that would happen. Lags, cannon, yeet, spike into every other car on the track. And yeah, that's just the nature of Gran Turismo 4 Online sometimes. So both of us are still kind of getting warmed up. I have played the game on and off the past couple weeks, just trying to get used to the wheel and diagnose my force feedback issues. So pretty much I warmed up a lot sooner than Rick did, which is why I'm catching up to him faster than I normally would be. And by this point, I am just on his tail and finally in the slipstream. So if we pause right here, you can see this ghosted car that's just spinning around. Yes. So one funny thing about Gran Turismo 4 Online is if you disconnect, your car doesn't just disappear from the track, but actually ghosts itself and it goes limp. So that's pretty much what happens when somebody disconnects from the lobby. But as you can see now, I am on Rick's tail. Rick is cat cool, by the way. I just call him Rick because it's easier. So trying to stay with him. And the thing about Gran Turismo 4 is that the slipstream is very strong, but I don't know if this is a fact or not, depending on like the actual game mechanics or the code in the game or anything like that. But as far as my experience with Gran Turismo 4, I don't think dirty air is simulated. It does simulate downforce and drag, of course, but I don't think dirty air is really a thing here. So if you're in the slipstream of somebody else going through the corners as you see now, as far as I know, you don't lose any downforce because of it. So if you get in somebody's slipstream, then it's very easy to stay with them, especially if you're in the same cars and nearly the same skill level. And you don't have to worry about losing any grip going through some corners. So as you can see now, I'm trying to make the move on Rick as we approach the final hairpin, braking a little bit later, getting the inside line, and holding it through to the exit. And easy pass right there. Sometimes passing on GT4 Online is a little tricky because the way this game handles netcode and ping is kind of different from other games where, let's say if you were side by side with another car, on your screen you would be side by side and it would look fine to you, but on the other person's screen or point of view, you would probably be a little bit further behind, maybe even like up to 1 car length behind, because that's just how this game handles the ping and the netcode and stuff like that. So sometimes whenever I am even in front of somebody else, I could still end up shoving them off the track from their perspective because they see my car right next to them. So sometimes you got to be a little bit more careful about your the area that your car essentially takes up. So I always try to be a little bit further ahead of somebody before I try getting in front of them because of that reason. And so you can see right here, this is another physics related thing. I'm too used to Gran Turismo 7, so I tried the trail brake right there to get the car to rotate into that corner, and it just doesn't work. So one thing about Gran Turismo 4, as far as the physics goes, is trail braking in this game is absolutely useless. So you're never really going to see a benefit from that. Feathering the throttle doesn't really help that much either. 90% of the cars in this game you pretty much just have to go 100% throttle, 100% brake, and then 100% throttle again after you get the car pointed in the right direction. And yeah, very different from Gran Turismo 7. Very different from a lot of other games in the Gran Turismo series. I'm not sure if GT5 and 6 behaved like that, actually, because I haven't really played them that much. But yeah, it might be a little bit of a learning curve, but I do say that Gran Turismo 4 is very easy to drive in compared to GT7. GT7 can be unforgiving in so many ways, especially rear-wheel drive cars if you spin out. That's one thing I've picked up on pretty quickly after getting the game. So yeah, just very big differences between certain things. So here on the final lap, we are neck and neck almost. And once again, here on the second to last corner, I go wide into the dirt. And well, at this point, I'm thinking I'm probably going to lose this one because now I'm on the outside. Rick is going a little bit wide there, but this happens.
Wrong gear.
Skill issue.
Good race, that Rowdy.
Yeah, I was actually really solid for the first one.
Yeah, man.
So, that was a pretty lucky one towards the end there. And, yeah, I almost threw that win away. So, interesting race, very fun first time back on GT4 Online. And I'm sorry there was no game audio in that race because OBS sucks. And, yeah, I wasn't able to get the game audio for that one. But later on, I did end up fixing it. So let's go ahead and skip to a race that did have game audio. So the race I decided upon was this. Group A rally cars from 1999 and 2000 at Opera Paris, which is a city track in Gran Turismo 4 based in, well, you guessed it, Paris. And this is actually one of my favorite tracks in Gran Turismo 4. And also the grid has winded down to just 4 of us because unfortunately the other 2 who were with us had to go. And it was just us 4 for a handful of these races. So, right off the bat, I immediately get around Biddy due to a kind of a sloppy start from both Biddy and Tuz. And this car really likes to be thrown into the corner. So, this is one of the rare kind of cars where you can get it to oversteer pretty easily, but you're never going to get it oversteering enough to spin out unless you do something very, very wrong and or stupid with it. So, if you learn how to take complete advantage of this car's handling, then you would be able to perform very well with it. And so, I have done this combo before on GT4 Online, and I actually did a video of it a long time ago. So I figured, why don't we just try this again? Because once you find a good race, then obviously you want to do it more and more. And that is a very sketchy part of this track. If you go too wide there on the kink for that straight, then you are going to clip the wall very hard, and you're going to lose a ton of time because of it. So that is definitely the scariest part of this track, is getting that section nailed down just right. And then this is another pretty technical section of the course, leading up to the finish line, pretty much the entirety of the final sector. So you just gotta hug the walls. If there's somebody in front of you, you gotta like imagine a different line so that you can make your way around them through the old switcheroo. And that overtake in the chicane was probably one of the ballsiest places to do an overtake in. And unfortunately, at that last corner, I think it was ping or something. Maybe I braked too early. Maybe Tesla braked too late or something like that. But I did get shoved out of the way there, unfortunately, on that corner. But it was easy enough to recover from that and make my way back around eventually. So just squeezing my way through right here, leading up to this very awkward section of the track where it's a hairpin followed by a straight 90-degree corner. Well, I just called it a straight corner. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah. Finally, I made my way around the pack, and now I am 4.5 seconds behind Rick, who has managed to disappear from the rest of the grid. And now that I'm not in traffic anymore, I should be making my way back up to him. So we're going to fast forward to lap 4 on the straight. Now, I am just outside of slipstream range, so I've only got a little bit of ways to go before I'm pretty much locked in, even though I've been catching up to Rick this whole time. Rick decided to choose the Ford Focus, which I would say is probably one of the slower Group A cars in the game. I don't really drive it much, but I'm pretty sure it handles like a boat. And yeah, Peugeot 206 is my favorite. And it's pretty much my go-to for any tarmac rally race, just because of the way it likes to go into the corners. But quickly making my way up to Rick in Sector 3 and going across the finish line for the second to last lap. Now, this starting chicane is kind of hard to get really precise, but I have a lot of experience on this track. You can see I use every single bit of the road surface there on the exit of that, and then just throwing the car straight into turn number 4, I believe that is, here for the bus stop. You just got to take it steady and not send it too hard because of the way this car handles, like I mentioned previously. And yeah, so pretty much by this point, I'm right on Rick's tail and just patiently waiting for a good opportunity to overtake. I don't think I would be able to pull it off in one of these technical sections, at least not with Rick. He is a little bit better of a driver. And so I just gotta be patient pretty much and wait for a slipstream opportunity or him to brake too early into a corner, get it, squeeze on the inside. So it's just a matter of finding the right opportunity to pull it off. Super late going into the brakes for this corner, but I am still able to somewhat keep up with him. He is starting to pull away just a little bit in terms of time, not really so much distance because it is a slower section, of course. And finally leading into the final lap, which I don't exactly remember how this lap went. I'm doing this commentary like pretty much on the go, and I haven't really reviewed the footage of this race. I did for the first one, but not this one. I'm really sloppy whenever it comes to making these videos, but we're both absolutely sending it through that corner, approaching the bus stop. This is the part where I'm thinking I could pull a move very soon. So I just have to set the car up perfectly on the exit of one of these corners so I have enough momentum to squeeze around him. But I am kind of struggling with this section of the track, and I'm just not able to get close enough at the right time. So I'm thinking right here, this is where I should make my move, just get a solid exit onto the straight, but unfortunately I tapped the wall ever so slightly, and just that much of a tap would be enough to slow you down a little too much in order to make the move by the final corner. So I end up taking this corner a little bit faster. Rick slides a little bit, making him lose a little bit of momentum, and he really squeezed the inside there, trying to not allow me any breathing room, but that is part of racing after all. And I think this was just a ping issue. I was probably further behind him on his screen than he was on my screen, so I did get a little bit pinched off there, but I'm not going to blame him for it. That's probably just the game. And unfortunately for this race, I wasn't so fortunate to get the win, but regardless, that is still one of my favorite setups to do. And if you guys want to play some GT4 online, make sure you join my Discord server, which is linked in the description. I am currently in the process of moving, so my setup is going to be completely disassembled for a couple days as I move into the new house. After the move-in period and after I get my new job secured, then I am hoping to start doing some more community races with my Discord server again, so the link is in the description. We will be doing some Gran Turismo 4 online and Gran Turismo 7 shuffle races, which should be pretty fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I don't really do these racing commentaries that often, so I understand if it was a little subpar, I guess, but I do have to get used to these style of videos, and they will get better over time if I stick to it. So thank you guys for watching once again, and I will see you next time.